Okay, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Red Room. Tonight, I have a large topic, and it's come to the surface many times in conversations and with clients. And so I thought, well, it's time that I talked about it and answered questions about it and recorded a Red Room about it. And that is basic information on how do we take care of our adolescents and our teenagers in these times. And there's some fabulous research, some very specific information and methods that the best sources have readily available. However, it's seldom that I find people who know these resources. So let me share that with you tonight. And I'm very happy for whoever of you have tuned in and would like to ask me any questions tonight. It doesn't matter what topic you ask them on. It may be relevant to the one that I'm talking about that has to do with our teenagers, our adolescents, and our college students, or may not. It may just be something that's on your mind. So I want to, let me see, give you these three questions. What are the three things that students need in order to ensure their completion of college? And it's a very difficult thing when students don't complete their college, because they end up with debt and they don't end up with the degree that helps them get a better job. So they get in a really tough spot. And what we know nowadays is the new generation. There's a label that's sometimes put on the new generation, and if you download your handout, there's a little bit of information about that, is that they are leaving the home more slowly than the baby boomers assumed they would. And that is something that we want, because it's good for our kids, it's good for our future, and it's good for their empowerment. So the book that I found that I wanted to refer to tonight is called Not Quite Adults. And it's one of many, and it's an excellent one. It's a new one. And the subtitle is Why 20-Somethings Are Choosing a Slower Path to Adulthood, and Why It's Good for Everyone. And so let me set the stage with this. I often ask people, how long does adolescence last? And, they have varying degrees of opinions. However, research now shows that that stage in life where we need to be developing our sense of identity, the fullness of who we are as a person, is adolescence, and it lasts from about 13 years old on up to 24, 25, 26, and even 28. It depends on how fast our young people mature. And that the first adulthood starts not at 18, not at 21. It starts between 28 and 30. So I don't really assume that someone has fully developed themselves and a sense of who they are, what they want, and how to use their talents and abilities until they're about 30 years old. And that begins the first adulthood. It's a hard time for some people. Most of us get kind of serious between 28 and 30 because we start thinking about, well, gee whiz, what is it that I want to be, and what do I want to accomplish in life, and what are my goals? What's now important? Because there's a sense of freedom, sometimes playfulness, and exploration through the adolescent years as we discover and experiment and find ourselves. And then there is this, it's a natural spot that we hit between 28 and 30 where we start to be serious and to consider. And I know, I'm sure you've heard somebody say, I thought I was going to be dead by the time I was 30. They don't even imagine themselves living up to 30. Well, that's the beginning of the first adulthood. And we want to keep our teenagers on track, developing themselves and their identity. We don't want them to try and grow up too fast. That's one of the costs that we experience in our culture when our teenagers try to do this fast forward thing that the old fashioned way assumed, expected, and sometimes people end up pushing their teenagers. Any questions, any comments? Please, anyone chime in, and thank you for visiting the Red Room tonight. Okay, so in this book, these two people have described two categories of our college students. And what I want is I want our adolescents, our teenagers, our young people who are finding identity, I want them in college. That's the best thing for them and for their future and the future of our world. And there are specific reasons why our kids don't end up in college or why they don't complete college, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. It says, the millennials, people born between 1980 and 2000, have seen extreme shifts in technology, society, parenting, and the economy. Goodness sake. And those of us my age we're fast forwarding, aren't we? However, these kids, that's what they were born into, all of this change, transformation, and shifting. Now here it is. The old measure of adulthood is a person who has left the family house, and one half of today's 18 to 24-year-olds have not yet done that. Gone to college, gotten job training, or joined the military, followed by getting a job, marrying, having kids, and getting involved in the community. This used to be accomplished by about 25. Kids today are often still trying to get through college at 25, and that's the way we want it to be. But there's a cost sometimes of parents and friends judging them for this. So it says, we've known for a while how important a college degree is, and the author's statistics give exact measures of income and hireability for this generation. They're finding college is more important than ever. The kids in this generation know that. They've been hearing it their whole lives from people like me. The problem is that many have not been prepared for college the way they need to be. And the impact of some college with no degree and a great deal of student loan debt is proving to be crippling for a large number of these kids. So there are two groups. There are the swimmers and there are the treaders. The swimmers are the kids that are swimming right on through this and finishing college, finding jobs, and finding a way to create a good and stable life. They're swimming. And they have these three things. One, strong study skills. Two, financial support from their parents. And of course, grants or loans. And they have emotional support. I don't think most of us have a sense of the kind of emotional support our teenagers need, our adolescents need, our college students need. And that's part of, I'll show you, I printed this report when I was doing this research a couple of years ago. This is a paper. It's 95 pages long, and it's a study from an association between Stanford and Harvard. It's absolutely, I was telling you, we know the best information. It's an absolutely fabulous paper. It's a PDF online, and that's the URL there on your screen for that paper. Just free, anybody for the taking. And it's the basic, highest research information on how to parent teenagers and keep our adolescents on track with developing and helping them swim through adolescence right on into that first adulthood. Now, the other part of our young people are called treaders. and they're treading water. They have a hard time swimming through this development process. And they have no college prep, which means that the adults whom they were around as they were growing up, probably nobody in their family went to college and doesn't know how to give them the support to prepare them for college. And our schools are so busy as it is, they don't have the time to prepare our kids for college. They know that they're supposed to go, they know it's going to be good for them, but they're not really prepped the way they need to be. And of course, then there are also statistics, which I have, how many of our kids drop out of high school and then they can't get into college right away. So they have no college prep. They haven't been fostered by the adults in their lives to have goals. They don't have goals. They're just treading water, trying to get through school. And they have no safety nets. Their parents are probably working hard, but they don't have extra money to give their kids for college. And so their safety nets that are financial and emotional aren't there. Because the emotional safety nets, the emotional supports, are oftentimes even more important than the financial support or the college prep. So I wanted to share this so you get it very clearly, because I know that every one of us have teenagers in our lives or parents that need to be supporting teenagers and want to do that the best way they can. So there are two significant changes in our culture have led us to this place. One is the country's loss of those high-paying, benefit-rich, blue-collar jobs that didn't require a college degree. So those jobs, and we're hearing it everywhere, and there are many reasons, and we know it because of the news reports, why those high-paying, blue-collar jobs that were benefit-rich have gone away and are going away. Two, the other is the rise in the very supportive, well-connected parent. These parents have made their kids so competitive with AP, college prep classes in high school, elite high schools that offer more to the kids that are prepped to study well and take advantage of more intense schooling, college admission coaches, and friends of friends who can ensure summer internships that ordinary kids can't keep up with all of this, because they have these very supportive, well-connected parents, and they get these kids swimming right on into and through college. So young people with no family support, either because they have the traditional hands-off, which means you're 18, you're out of the house, you're pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, and either you go to college and you succeed or you haven't been responsible, that kind of attitude, and you know that attitude. Let the kid figure it out parents, or no parents with no college themselves and no understanding of the process. Can they still thrive? They can, if we know what to offer them. The keys are these three keys, and these are the three keys to help students ensure that they succeed getting through college. First of all, find, and this is on your handout from tonight if you want to print the download, and share this with your friends. All of our kids and the parents of kids need this. Finding college-like experiences for kids. This is part of the prep to get kids ready. I don't know if you know closely a teenager who has gone to college. And if you know them closely and if they communicate with you, you know how touch and go it is for a lot of them getting into that first semester, and how like a duck out of water they feel. And there's and especially sensitive kids or kids that are very bonded to home. There are so many stressors and so many ways they can feel disconnected and lost and stressed out and depressed. So they need our support. They need us to understand that it is really tough. So in order to prep them, there are these three things: find college-like experiences, give them emotional support, and help them find a network of connections that will help them with their schooling, with their jobs, and their internships. And chime in, anyone who, if you have a comment or a question about any of this. And thank you so much for tuning in tonight. So first of all, finding college-like experiences. Now, this is one of the things that I have felt very strongly about for a long time. And I haven't yet figured out how to put some energy behind this passion that I have. But for experiences of our high school kids to go to other countries as an exchange student, or just to visit another country and experience people in another place, that kind of experience prepares kids for college in several ways. They're removed from their high school, their parents, their country, and they find out how to connect with other people, and usually they end up with another family somewhere else that will always be part of their support system in their family. So finding college-like experiences will be helpful to kids who are not prepared for college. Any group living experience, and the example that the authors give is such as the Peace Corps, will expand their worldview and help them understand people different from themselves, like what happens in college. That is a big takeaway from college life that helps young people form a broader understanding of society and life. It's a takeaway from college life. And if you have that in before college, you're going to be able to enjoy and adapt to and get more out of your college and pull through it, swim through it, and not just tread water. So we want to give as many of our teenagers as possible experiences with these group, high-quality group experiences facilitated or mentored by professional adults. Could be the Peace Corps, it could be mission trips, it could be exchange students, it could be having an exchange student in your own house. But these, the key is any group living experience. Now, I don't know about you, but that's kind of new to me about how it preps our teenagers to be successful in college. Is that not cool? And you can see how healthy that is. So that's first. Number two is give emotional support. So what does emotional support look like? Well, it isn't that you let them cry on your shoulder. It means caring. Emotional support means honestly caring. And you know, when I teach marriage counseling, you know what I say that's more daring than diamonds, more caring than kisses, and more precious than platinum? What is the most loving, most caring thing any of us can do for the people that we care about? It's one word, and I don't know. Some of you who are tuning in perhaps have heard me say this, and you know it already. Listening. It's listening. Listening is the best emotional support. Active listening, where we care so much we want to know the person. And then of course we want to do that emptying the cup, where we want to hear more. And the teenager or the child understands that we're giving our full, undivided attention because they are the most important thing in the world to us at that point. It is the ultimate experience of being loved, of receiving emotional support. Now, of course, you know, we also want to be emotionally supportive when they're angry and mirror them and say, I can tell you're really angry about something, or you're really frustrated. Do you want to talk about it? And then they say, yeah, I am frustrated about this. And then they tell us, because they don't get frustrated unless they care about something, and we want them to care. Here we go. This is part of the the paper that I gave you the URL, that 95-page paper. Well, within that paper, there's a piece called The 5 Basics of Parenting Adolescence. And it's this simple. See that? There's one page for each one. There's a nice chart. It's just boom, 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 right there. Any adult, any parent, even the people who don't read, there it is. Simple, clear. So these are the 5 things that make our teenagers experience emotional support. So there's a page on love and connect with them. Most things about their world are changing. Don't yet let your love be one of them. And this is one of the things that I've learned. A lot of parents kind of give up on their teenagers because, you know, they're turning into cats, not dogs, and they kind of don't want to have parents, or they don't want to be seen with their parents. And then there's that kind of awkward place of transformation for them. But they need us to not change. They need to know that we still and always will and always have. We love them, and that we want to connect with them. Use those moments when you can connect. Acknowledge the good times with them. Expect increased criticism from them and say, yep, you have I can see you've got a leg to stand on with that. When communicating, my basic rule is the first thing you say is yes. Even when you disagree, say yes, because you want to listen, because you care about what they're going to say. Yes, I want to hear. Yes, I understand. Yes, I'm interested. Spend time just listening, right there. Treat each teen as a unique individual. They're not all the same. You want to listen in the unique way to each of the kids you know. Appreciate them and acknowledge them. Provide meaningful roles for them. Not just homework, not just hanging out with their friends. They need a meaningful role that only adults know to provide. Spend time together. The key message is most things about their world are changing. Don't let your love be one of them. So if we want to provide emotional support, that's the first of 5. Second one, monitor your teens' activities. You still can, and it counts. Counts. Monitor and observe. It says you care. It says that you want the best for them. Even when it's against what they think they ought to have. You're the adult, you're the parent. And you need to stand for what you know is right, good, and true for them. Number 3, guide and limit. Loosen up, but don't let go. Loosen up and let them, if they make a mistake, then pull back. Say, I want you to succeed, so let's make sure that you have what you need in order for me to let go and be successful. Loosen up, but don't let go. Number 4, model and counsel. The teen years, parents still matter. Teens still care. How we affect our kids is they watch everything our faces say, everything we wear, everything we say, everything we do. They're watching us. They're absorbing it. Whether or not they approve, whether or not they're interested in it, whether or not they're inspired by it, whether or not it teaches them, they are watching us. We are role models, of which means it behooves us to behave like the best adult we can be. You know that it's not what we say, and God forbid we are telling them what to do. We're showing them, taking them along, living them, mentoring them by experience. So parents still matter, and how we model and consult with them we don't want kids raising kids. We want responsible, intelligent, caring adults raising our kids. And our teenagers are growing identity until they're 26 to 28 years old, everyone. They need us. They need us more than ever, because now they're seeing all the complexities of who we are and how people function. They need to be seeing us, not other kids. Well, you know, they're with the other kids plenty enough. However, don't abandon them. And number 5 of the 5 basics of parenting adolescents is provide and advocate. You can't control their world, but you can add to it and subtract from it. So we want to provide whatever we can, and this is part of this, what the kids that are treaders, they're not swimming. This is these are the 5 things they need so much in adolescence from the adults in their life. They need to be able to network in the community. They need to find connections with other good adults, and it's up to us to take them into that community. They're going to hang with other kids. In terms of other adults, well, they'll get their teachers and their coaches, but if we as parents and neighbors don't do this, then they then end up treading and not swimming. As well as within schools, family, religious organizations, and social services to identify resources that can provide positive adult and peer relationships, they need guidance, training, and activities for your teen. Make informed decisions as an advocate for your team. Watch, what's going on with their school, with their internships, with their jobs. And find out the resources in the schools and through the school counselor, perhaps in the community, to help your kid, help your teenager connect with networking and adults, organizations, and institutions. These are the connections that are laying the foundation for their success in college and how they connect with the community once they come out of college, so that they will have places where they can ask people about finding jobs. So identify people and programs to support and inform you and your teenagers. So you can't control their world, but you can add to and subtract from it, from your adult world. That's all I'm going to share about that. You can get these just like this, online, free, from this fabulous authoritative report by Stanford and Harvard, and a wonderful team of people who care deeply about our kids, our teenagers, our adolescents, helping them develop fully their own identity, their own freedom to find a good life, and therefore to be people in our nation that are supporting an excellent community and life for themselves and their kids. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. The questions that I said that I would speak to tonight. So we already know when adolescence turns into adulthood, somewhere between 26 and 28, 30, somewhere around in there. So we want to keep parenting them, less and less and less through those years, and at a higher and higher quality, right? Why do more boys than girls know what they want in a career? Now, I've spoken to this point previously in the Red Room, but I wanted to make the point in this topic tonight. About guys are more focused, more goal-oriented, more competitive, and more connected with their own core than women are. Women, we are here to preserve, to teach, to provide, to create the culture, which means 1,000 things, or more or less, many, many things. Women are responsible for this. And so as women, if we're here to create the culture, we need to know a little bit about a lot of things. Sometimes, yes, we know what our goal is, we know what our career is. Sometimes we know that we want more than anything to be a wife and a mom and to create a fabulous home, neighborhood system, community support, and other things that only women can do who don't have to punch a time clock. So it's not uncommon for our girls to not have this kind of step-by-step goal process where they see their goal, they're focused on it, and they build in that direction. They may have many talents. We hope they do. If you're going to create the culture, you need to know about this, and this. And I experienced this myself, where it took me until I was about 40 to finally focus down on psychology. And I certainly had not been sitting still up until 40. I graduated from college with an undergraduate degree and kept on trying this, working there, having this kind of a relationship, traveling the world, doing all kinds of things to explore, adventure, and create my identity and create different skills, talents, abilities. And this is not uncommon for our girls, where they have many talents, abilities, and skills that they want to develop. And it may end up underneath the same rubric or the same umbrella in the beginning or at the end. So support your girls. If you want to know more specific research about how girls succeed, go to the Stone Center, and you'll find that easily online. They've done the basic and fabulous research on how girls are different from boys and how we want to support them. So that's the short answer to the question about why do boys, more boys than girls, know what they want in a career. It doesn't mean that we don't want all of them going to college. However, if a girl doesn't know what she wants to declare as her major, don't sweat it. Say, just go with what you got today. Just choose something and go with that. The way I describe it is, okay, not sure what I'm going to choose, but I think I'll choose that. If you go down that road, the door opens up when you walk in there, and then it's a whole nother panoply of choices. And when you walk in, then usually you'll know, well, this is the road I want to go down. Open that door, whole nother panoply. It's like you don't know what you're going to choose until you get there. So relax about your girls if that's the process that's natural to them. Okay, and returning to this specific research about what our students need to ensure their completion of college. So remember the keys to the kids who are the treaders, the ones that don't have the parental support, financial support, emotional support that the swimmers did. So the treaders, we want to find them college-like experiences where they're like group living experiences that are enriching them beyond what they ordinarily would in their home, in their high school. Give them emotional support. And so I just walked through quickly the 5 basics of parenting adolescence, and these are the 5 different areas where our teenagers, our adolescents, our college students, our beginning college students, our high school students need our emotional support. That's how they need it. And then number 3, finding a network that will bring connections for jobs and internships. Get this, and this is new, of course, right? Internet social networks like Facebook, Twitter, the other things that students experience will prove to be a boon to these kids because they need the connections. If their parents or the adult system around them isn't connecting them with places for internships or other adults or other businesses in the community or organizations in the community, the internet is one way where they can connect. Treaders, these are the kids that are just treading water, tend to be just as connected to online communities as the swimmers do. They expand their exposure to political, social issues, increase their understanding of a variety of views, and improve their job opportunities. Isn't that fabulous? It's so accessible. So that's the third part. Finding a network that will bring connections for these kids, for jobs and internships, and the internet social networking is a very strong component that will help them find that. Isn't this beautiful information? It's very heartening to me, and that's why I wanted to share it with you, because it's so specific, so practical, and it's very clear. Obviously, this is specific directions where we can put our energy if there's a teenager in our lives. The authors suggest that friends of friends of friends, as we go forward in our lives, as our teenagers, our 20-somethings, our millennials go forward in life, their friends of friends of friends are going to be as important in a person's success as supportive family. So I've also shared with you 2 other sections of 2 articles. Failure to Change, a new mantra for parents. And this is a little bit of an article written by someone who is obviously a pretty illumined parent. I've told my kids that I do not have a clue as to how to navigate the world that is evolving, but I will help them in any way I can. And there you go. The kids do have a clue. They just need our love and support. Many of the up-and-coming professions of today did not even exist back in the 70s. How can I tell them what they should do? I only wish that I had made more social contacts and such over the years that could have made their way a little easier. And this is part of the 18 building blocks of the lifestyle design model that I've created and that I shared with you over a sequence of 6 red rooms that sometimes we forget. And right now I'm thinking of a special couple that came to see me in my private practice where they have truly been devoted to working. They're entrepreneurs, they're a team, and they've worked and worked and worked and now are waking up. Their business is successful, but they don't have a social network. They don't have a lifestyle together. They don't have friends. They've never taken a vacation. And their kids are not doing well. And here it is. They're waking up and they're noticing what this parent did. This parent, he says, I only wish that I had made more social contacts and such. Over the years, it could have made my teenagers' way a little easier. So, we should all have such problems, right? Because making social contacts and such is really fun. It's expansive, it's learning, it's stimulating, it's having a great neighborhood friendship system, collegial system. And that's such a huge enrichment to our lives. And here this parent is saying, and now he sees that it isn't only how we enrich our own lives and are therefore good role models for our kids, but it's a heritage that we create for them, where they're connected with that system as well. Our teenagers are around our dinner parties, and our daughter wants to be in a certain profession, and there was an expert, a nationally admired and loved expert in that field at one of our dinner parties, and who offered personal coaching to her. Now, if we didn't have friends and dinners and a social system, how else would she have experienced that? So I encourage you to have a bigger social system and have more fun, because it's not only good for you, it's good for your kids in various ways. Okay. Then slower course is not a slacker course. So because our kids are coming home to us after college or during college, and they're taking a longer time to get through college, it's not because they're slackers. That old model, the old assumptions aren't accurate anymore. They do need us to be more supportive of them during these years when they're developing their identity and they're getting through college and finding their way in the work world. And this author says, a slower course is good if it allows young people time to make more strategic and careful choices, and to build credentials, skills, and experiences that will ensure stronger and more stable futures. The evidence shouts this, and that's especially true in today's economy. Now, you and I know we don't want our kids coming back home and just mooching, right? we want to support them while they're finding jobs, getting an education, and making contacts. If they're mooching, well, that problem's probably started earlier, and we know how to coach you with that too. The 20s are crucial years for making investments in one's future. It's not a moment to stand still. What happens in the 20s is terribly consequential for the rest of adult life, and as I said earlier, that's creating identity. It's creating a sense of who I am and how I want to work, how I want to live. Going on to quote, we're also not saying that young people shouldn't assume responsibilities for themselves or others. They must. And I'm on board with this statement, and I've been talking about it for many years, and I love reading somebody else saying it as well. But we should be far more worried about young people who jump quickly into marriage or parenting before they're ready, who leave home without adequate resources, and who bypass higher education. These are all extremely risky ventures today. If you think there aren't some serious alarms going off, check out a few of these items. So there are 10 items here, and I have enough time to share these, unless somebody chimes in with a question or a concern, and I'm happy to hear from you. It doesn't have to be related to the topic tonight. So if you have something that you want to ask me, here I am. You want to ask a therapist something anonymously, go right ahead. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and give you my thoughts. So parents are now channeling about 10% of their annual household incomes to their young adult children under the age of 25, regardless of their income level. 10% of their income. 2, even in the late 1980s, evidence showed that about 1/3 of the costs of raising a child to the age of 18 came again as the child moved through the 20s. So those costs return after the kids are out of high school, and we didn't think about that. We don't typically predict that. 3, new estimates suggest that 43% of young people between 25 and 34 would be in poverty if they weren't living at home. Living at home makes the rate only 9%. Because of how our work world has changed in these times. There's much worry about the proportion of young adults who live with parents today, but in the decades before World War II, proportions were even higher. Did you know that? In World War II, when those were dire circumstances, of course our jobs were affected. Many of our people were gone away from our city, our state, our nation in war, and of course, supporting a war effort, but that the same amount of young adults who live with their parents now, also that happened during the war. Okay, about 1/4 of young adults between 25 and 34 today have a bachelor's degree, and about 5% have graduate degrees. So only 5% of our population have gone on to graduate school. And only 1/4 of our 20-somethings have a bachelor's degree. And what we're learning about our job market, those blue-collar jobs that don't require a college degree are going away quickly. So only a quarter of our kids are prepared for a profession. Okay, number 6, only 40%, and this is tragic, only 40% of those who start four-year colleges and universities finish within 6 years, which is generally understood to be the point of no return. Only 40% of our kids finish. Not even half of them finish through college, which is why that information about turning our treaders into swimmers is so critically important. If a child starts college, if a teenager starts college, we don't want them to fail. We don't want them to drop out. And of course, that's a whole other subject about we don't want them to drop out of high school, that's for sure. And those statistics are frightening as well, or of concern. New estimates are that 30% of ninth graders today won't graduate high school after 4 years. And for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it is an alarming 50% of those kids, 50% of our kids won't graduate high school. Won't graduate from high school and won't get a degree. And then what kind of a job are they prepared for? Unemployment, this was November a year ago, for those 20-somethings in 20 to 24 years old is only about 17%. Oh, no, the unemployment is 17%. So 17% of our kids don't have jobs. Today, the typical college graduate with undergraduate debt, just for the bachelor's degree, from a public university is about $20,000. So they have that debt that they need to pay off once they get a job, or maybe their moms and dads will help them. The economic return to those with a college degree has doubled since 1975. The economic return. So once they finish that degree, that $20,000, if they're wise, they're going to be able to pay it off, no sweat. Actually, I know a couple, young married couple, who are both high school teachers, being very, very careful. Now, these two are very responsible, very, very careful with their money, saved $33,000 after they paid their college debts in order to put a down payment on a house. And this is only after 4 years of graduating from college. So there it is. When you get a degree, your income is double what it was if you had a degree in 1975. So it pays off. So we want to make sure our kids get to swim and don't get stuck treading water. Any comments from any of you? Any questions? That's generally what I wanted to cover tonight. Kind of open the doorway, open the connections for the best materials on how to keep our kids on track, how to keep them supported emotionally, financially, and socially. There is another resource that I wanted to share with you that is the most thrilling resource for parents and teachers as far as I know, at any rate. There may be people who know more than this, but I think I'm right on track here. It's called the Search Institute. And the Search Institute is in Minnesota. They have 70 employees, a $10 million annual budget. They're 50 years old, and their whole focus is researching, developing, and publishing materials for parents and teachers. And since we're talking about teenagers, adolescents tonight, there is this absolutely stunning book. It's a how-to guide, kind of like a recipe book, that gives instructions on how to develop all of the 40 assets necessary to complete the identity of a child and a teenager. There are 20 internal assets and 20 external assets, and you can find these age-appropriately described on the Search Institute website. And let me type that for you. It is search-institute.org. Yes. So that's the URL. This is the gold mine if you want to support kids and teenagers. And the book that just knocked my socks off, the recipe book that I described, is called What Teens Need to Succeed. And that is, you can get that by just ordering it from the Search Institute anytime you want. So there you go. If you want very specific recipes for all of those 40 assets, descriptions of what the assets are, the research behind them, what kids can do at school, at home, in their faith community, in their community, so that they can develop these even if they don't have many adults or any adults supporting them in developing this. And that's one of the things that we can provide our kids, is the information so that they get the support and the understanding and the recipes for how they can look for what they need. Because goodness knows, in our school systems, our school counselors, our social systems, there are people who their whole focus is making sure our teenagers keep on track, graduate from high school, and get into college and do great and get all the fun out of college, so that we prep them to be successful, not only but scholastically but socially, so that they're finding themselves there. Any questions, any comments from you guys who have tuned in tonight? And thank you so much for tuning into the Red Room. I really appreciate your companionship here, and knowing that my sharing this information is helpful in some way. Any questions about the kids in your life, the teenagers, or the relationships in your life? I'm happy to hear from you. Let's see, before I leave you, there's something else that I wanted to share with you. Yes. You may not know, but right here, I live in Plano, Texas. And right here in Plano, Texas, at one point, it was kind of known as the suicide drug capital in Texas, if not more states than that, in our high school population. And the community rallied hugely. There were corporate entities involved. Big companies gave money to do some research and development. And there is a wonderful nonprofit formed here in Plano called Practical Parent Education. And they have researched and developed curricula for somewhere between 65 and 75 different topics on helping parents get specific information about helping their kids to be successful. So it's called Practical Parent Education. And if you're interested, I have their curriculum. I'm trained by them to offer their talks. And if you know someone, or if you would like me to give a talk on some topic of parenting, I would love to do that. Call me anytime or email me. And I have the quiz from PPE, Practical Parent Education, on the 12 characteristics of a healthy family. And if you would like that, email me, ask me for it, and I'd be happy to share it with you. Also, if you know anybody that wants somebody to come and talk and teach about a topic that I share in the Red Room, please contact me. I love giving talks, I love teaching, I love getting the word out, and I love sharing the information that we have nowadays that may not be readily available in the public. Before I finish then, since you guys seem content with listening to me this evening, I want to list the 10 tasks of adolescence. And, those of you listening probably aren't teenagers. Maybe you are. But check in with yourself if you've succeeded in these 10 tasks of developing identity, because the focus for adolescence is developing identity, and incidentally, it is not intimacy. My blood runs cold when kids' hobby becomes relationships or sexual relationships or getting married. That's not a hobby. It's not an activity for developing your identity. It's a way of displacing the development of identity so that you don't develop your talents, skills, sense of self, connection with the world. So I am not into getting your emotional needs met with other kids and girlfriends and boyfriends. And I know teenagers would not, a lot of them don't want to hear that from me, but I'm holding my ground. So the 10 tasks of adolescence. First, they have to adjust to sexually maturing bodies and feelings. And as adults, if we don't help them be graceful with that, know what it's like and how to handle it, it's going to just be wild inside of them. To develop and apply abstract thinking skills. And if you've got a philosopher for a spouse or a friend, you know that your kids love philosophical talk. However, if you don't do that, you want to add that in to somehow or another the conversations in your home. 3, develop and apply a more complex level of perspective taking, which means we don't want you with a closed mind. We don't want you to be too stiff. We want you to start talking about different perspectives. 4, develop and apply new coping skills in areas such as decision making, problem solving, and conflict resolution. Thank you, Heather, for tonight. Somebody says, sorry, gotta go. Yep, we're headed for the end of our evening, and thank you for your gratitude. It's nice when you let me know. I really appreciate it. Good night. I'm going to just whip through these others because I did promise you I would. Identify meaningful moral standards, values, and belief systems. And that's a big conversation, isn't it? Understand and express more complex emotional experiences. Do you do that yourself? Form friendships that are mutually close and supportive. Do you have great friends? Establish key aspects of your identity. And that's a whole nother lifelong process, right? Meet the demands of increasing the mature roles and responsibilities. Help them do that. Help them watch you do that. And renegotiate relationships with adults in parenting roles. Because sooner or later, they're no longer like a dog where you're managing them and in their pack. Sooner or later, they go into being a cat where they're not in the pack anymore. They don't want you to manage them. They want you having your hands off. And we want to do it with love, intelligence, hopefully a sense of humor, and modeling for them what a happy, healthy adult looks like. Thank you so much for tuning into the Red Room tonight. And I hope this information has been valuable and useful to you. And I will see you next week for my next broadcast from the Red Room. Good night, everyone.